What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of Games Up Podcast. My name is Cameron McCulloch-Keeble, and I am joined as ever by Lewis and Lawrence.
Not as ever. I wasn't here last time.
No, you weren't.
I'm here now.
All the time
Excellent.
before, or the time before that.
Well, yeah.
You were.
I am always here.
You are. You're like a guardian, like the Batman of.
You're like that statue in that poem.
That's that one statue in that one poem.
Statue in that one poem.
It's been a long time.
It has.
If you listen to the show, if you've listened to the show previously, you know that we all go to. Hopefully, you know that we all go to uni, and so we do. We try as often as we can to get together to do these. But it's been a long time since we've done one in the same room.
Yeah.
So the band is back.
Indeed, although we're not striking up.
No, and we will start as ever with the news. Yeah.
Good. Here's the 6 o'clock news.
We have 18 items on the news.
So we got 18 minutes.
That's a surprisingly small amount for
It's
for
not
you,
bad
Cameron.
for us, is it? These are the past week's worth of news. So here we go. The boss of Twitch has come out and said that a 7-year console cycle is unsustainable in comparison to the 2-year cycles of other platforms. So, in comparison to the 2-year cycles of mobile platforms that most people upgrade to, a 7-year console cycle is unsustainable. Thoughts?
Well, would it be preferable to buy a new one every 2 years?
Hell fucking no.
Exactly. But there are other concerns, like the fact that a console has to come as a single entity, and that means that you have to pay the full price rather than swap the bits in and out, which is what you do with the computer.
Yeah.
So do you think a modular console is the future?
I would say so. Definitely something that looks a bit more like a PC.
I'm not really sure. Is he comparing it to like phones?
Yeah, to mobile platforms.
I'm not sure I agree in terms of gaming because they haven't come along that far, you know.
They will.
And they don't come on that far every 2 years.
No, and the thing I would say there is that they do in terms of the consumers seem to come on that far, but they don't in terms of the actual ecosystem, because everybody knows Apple is holding back the 6S and the 7.
Oh, yeah.
But the devs probably know that to an extent as well. So, like, we, the consumer, see the new iPhone, this, that, whatever, and probably upgrade to it every 2 years. But I don't necessarily know that holds back the ecosystem in the same way. So it's a constantly moving beast rather than the console cycle, which is a different
Trying
kind
to make
of
the
beast.
biggest thing you can when you can and so on.
And there's architecture learning and software upgrades and so on and so forth that keep it moving.
Okay.
Oh yeah, well,
What a
think about
fucking terrible time to get hiccups.
think about the what do you call it? Competitiveness, I suppose, would be one place to start, because the more competitive markets tend to have a faster turnover rate, usually. So, I mean, how many big players are there in the phone industry? There's
Well,
Samsung. There's
HTC. If you really boil it down, it's Android, Windows, and iOS.
well, no, but those are the operating systems.
Yeah,
We're
so
talking
you've
about the
got- you've
manufacturers here.
Okay, so
Nokia.
Nokia, Samsung, HTC, iPhone.
Yeah.
Is Siemens part of Samsung, isn't it? Yeah, in its distribution.
Yes.
Your two
Google?
biggest are probably Samsung and iPhone, though.
Yeah.
Or Apple, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good summary.
Yeah.
Well, it's not terribly competitive, but
I
they do
think-
have.
The problem with it being like this for consoles, okay, let's bring it back, is that, like, unless they were able to have it always be backwards compatible, it wouldn't really be possible to bring out a new console every 2 years,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, the amount of research they put in anyway, like, they spend millions making these consoles. Millions of millions just to, like, make something that works and then make the games work and all that kind of stuff. And make, like, a solid platform. It would be impossible for them to make a new thing every 2 years.
And games take a while to develop.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
obviously, games take a long time to develop. So unless they could make it so they could release one, but people could still play any game off the shelf with it, or any Xbox game off the shelf, you know.
Mm-hmm. So a sort of modular console then.
It could be, yeah.
Well, either you find a way to make games faster,
Yeah.
and theoretically that might be more doable if you had, just if
Well-
the programming was easy. I mean,
Well, I mean,
writing isn't a terribly exhaustive process. It's the nuts and bolts that are difficult to do.
And that does happen throughout generations because architectures are learned
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
software upgrades come out. This, developers learn the ins and outs of gaming machines, and we've already begun to see that this generation, and we very much saw it the last one.
I think it's possible that consoles can be better future-proofed. It's not necessarily in the best interest of the manufacturer of the console, because it serves them to sell a new generation more frequently.
Yeah, true.
But if they were better future-proof, then you wouldn't need such a long development cycle, because
That's true. Yeah.
it wouldn't be such a hard reboot every time.
Yes.
I'm not so sure whether we've had enough game consoles and games come out to actually say about future proofing. I think, like, you take, say, the PS3 is a good example of something that or even the Xbox 360, when it first came out, even though it's been out, how long was it out before the new one?
The 360 had an 8-year life cycle,
So when it first came out, it took,
I believe.
I would say, a good 5 years before it maximised its sort of potential.
Yeah, certainly.
The games that came out when it started you can actually compare on the same console. The graphics have gone up so much since then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's
So I don't know about 2 years. I could kind of understand 5 years. That kind of like space of time.
See, that was just the result of good planning, if you think about it. That they left room in the capability in the hardware to be optimized.
No. It's not that at all. It is down entirely to architecture. It's just it's blood out of a stone. It's wringing that little bit more power out of the 360.
As in being more efficient, as in with better maximized software processors.
Yes,
better understanding.
And I mean, we've got to think about it now. The consoles we've got now, that lovely box over there, is what? I mean, I think the 360 had 200. I think it had half a gig of RAM.
Right.
And that's 8 gigs.
Yeah.
So that's 16 times what we had then. And, the difference is there, but it's comparable. It's going to be ridiculous when we get to the end of this generation, even if it is a 5-year generation, which I don't think it will be.
It depends, because I don't know. It could be a law of diminishing returns. It might be that more RAM doesn't actually help you with this sort of thing. I don't understand. I mean, as anyone knows, just putting more gigs doesn't necessarily improve your processing power.
It's mostly processor. Like, you, at least up to this point, even on the highest end computers, 8 gigs is pretty much what you need.
Yeah, true.
It's mostly processing.
But like, the point is that even back in the day of the 360, like, we saw these architectural upgrades, and we saw that they need that time. The developers need that cycle of looked back and reported. Rocksteady do a good thing where they do a post-mortem of their games, where they consider how they worked and didn't work in every instance of their existence. And they need that kind of cycle of develop post-mortem, and I don't think you get that same thing. I don't think you get that same kind of cycle with a shorter hardware cycle, like a mobile cycle.
Yeah. Well, it depends if you make your architecture easier to navigate around.
Yeah, true.
Well, I guess that's the other thing, is that you have to think that, like, when you've got this mobile cycle, you have this issue that because people are making games that work on every phone, they're not trying to get as you said, blood out of a stone. They're not trying to get the last sort of.
Yeah, there's always the next iPhone down the road.
Whereas the kind of thing that they had sort of like this 8-year period to kind of perfect making games for the 360 means that by the time they got to the end of it, they were really good at doing it, and the games at the end of the life of the 360 look so much better than the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's because they knew. Well, when you, like you say, when you're making a mobile game, you don't necessarily have to understand everything. The software down to the smallest rivet and plate.
Yeah.
We've just done 10 minutes on the news story, so we've got to get the rest in 8.
Right.
Luckily, this one shouldn't take much time. CD Projekt Red have confirmed that The Witcher 3 will feature dynamic beard growth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ye gods.
So you grow in strength
That's going to be quite cool, actually.
and facial follicles. There you go. That's how far we've come. Number 3, PS4's latest software patch came out this week. It was codenamed Yukimura, and it added various features such as suspend and replay, which was a feature talked about since launch.
Is that like more like pause and you can go somewhere else, or what is that?
Yeah, it's
like sleep.
You sleep it. You start the game again from exactly where you were.
Oh, awesome.
No loading or anything.
Awesome.
Oh, cool.
Well, I don't think it's no loading, but it's
there will be
exactly
some
where
It'll be in
you-
the
of course.
RAM.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the
stores it.
stored memory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Number 4, the latest sales figures for Borderlands 2 have been released, and they are obscene.
Yeah.
The game has shipped 12 million copies.
Wow. For the
And rightly so, but that's mental.
yeah,
I
That
didn't
is.
know it was that big.
yeah, that's surprising.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how the pre-sequel does.
Yeah,
Once the Handsome Collection has had a couple of weeks on the market, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know whether this sales number includes the Handsome Collection, and if so, I don't know how they're splitting that up,
yeah,
because
Yeah.
that's a sale for both, in theory. So that's weird. Number 5, a new PC Halo game has been announced.
Oh, really?
Oh,
And
wonderful.
to make this more weird, it's exclusive to Russia.
Oh.
Yeah.
You got my hopes up and then dashed them terribly.
That's a bit odd.
Uh,
Do we have any context?
Halo Online is a free-to-play PC shooter.
Oh, it's this. Okay,
Yeah,
I feel better again.
It's the kind of, it's like Call of Duty Online in China. It's what we know to be Halo, but pretty much not.
Yeah,
Right.
tapping like the untapped market.
Yeah, it's a
the-
different kind of market.
The ruble, if you will.
Number 6, Rosetta Stone is being brought to the Xbox One, meaning that you can play a
Yay.
game, snap it, and learn a new language at the same time.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I know it sounds silly, but I think that's actually a really cool thing to do. Like, that's a pretty interesting feature, I think.
Be a bit more productive with your
With your useless time. 7, Microsoft have said that they will not interfere with Minecon this year. This was kind of up in the air since their $2.5 billion acquisition of Mojang. But they said they're going to take a backseat supporting role and let Mojang do their thing, which is nice.
Oh, good.
Hopefully
that's
it's
good.
a sign of things for the future.
Or maybe they're scared of spooking the beast.
Every time I bring up a good story about this, you're like, or maybe they're doing something twice as evil. So I'll keep bringing them up until they do the evil thing.
They're selling it to EA.
I won't even say I told you so. I'll just
Enjoy the Plants vs. Zombies DLC. Number 9, Konami have issued a statement on Hideo Kojima regarding his rumored departure from the company, and I'll tell you the statement right here. I've lost it. Give me a second. Do you know all about this Konami Kojima thing?
only vaguely. I'm aware of the curious relationship of Konami and Kojima. I understand that when he kind of made it big with the Metal Gear series, or rather made Konami big, and then went off to form his own Kojima Productions, which are intimately linked.
Yep.
So it's all a bit incestuous.
Okay, on that note, here's the statement. In accordance with the recent change in production organisation of all of Konami, Kojima Productions, as well as other internal production companies, has had its name, etc., changed to move into the corporate headquarters work structure. The name and organisation has changed, but as before, Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain is continuing as a work from director Kojima and the existing team members. So if anybody has any fucking clue what that means...
So wait, he's not leaving.
Who knows? There is a corporate restructure happening.
Maybe Kojima Productions was too much Kojima's thing for the management at Konami to be happy. Despite the fact the management at Konami is a very large portion Kojima.
I reckon what's happening is Kojima's leaving after Metal Gear Solid 5.
I hope he is.
But they don't want him to do that. They know about this, so they're releasing it as part of Konami, so that they can reap more of the benefits than him when he leaves
Please,
the game's sale.
please make another Metal Gear. No, no, no.
The only worrying thing is this throws into flux Silent Hills.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like, what happens to that now?
Who owns it? Who deals?
Who
with
does it? Who owns it? Is it Kojima? Is it PlayStation? Is it exclusive? Like, we don't know that game. E3 is going to be interesting.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Going to be very interesting. What number were we on? Number 8. The latest PS Vita update was pushed this week, adding various features and changes. The most notable thing is it supports 60 frames per second remote play streaming, which is nice, because that's pretty cool on a Vita.
Yeah.
Yeah, that platform's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I'd quite like to get one,
Oh, really?
but I know I'd probably never use it. Not because I wouldn't want to, but because if I'm ever sat down in a place where I could use it, I wouldn't either have enough time to use it, or I'm playing a game on the Xbox One or whatever console it is.
In the time that you're with your Xbox One, you play the Xbox One. You're not going to play a Vita.
Yeah,
but...
I could see the value of a Vita on a commute.
Oh yeah.
But I don't commute anywhere long enough for it to be worth it. I would use it on the vague times I get a train to London or something, and it doesn't feel like it's...
I don't know. You'd have to carry it with you exclusively for that purpose.
Yeah.
You've got a phone.
Exactly. Well, I don't... yeah.
Yeah.
Number 10, the games with gold for this month have been announced, for April this month have been announced, and they are as follows. Xbox One gets Pool Nation FX.
Yeah.
No fucking idea. And Child of Light, which is cool. Xbox 360 gets Gears of War Judgment, AC4, Terraria, and Army of Two: The Devil's Cartel.
So it's very one-sided here.
Yeah. The games you want are on the Xbox One. Or on the 360 even. Child of Light would be cool. But, yeah.
Yeah.
It's alright. 11. Half-Life 2 is getting a free visual update mod on Steam.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The mod, which was made by fans but approved by Valve, is 7 gigs.
No.
And it adds various visual
Upgrades
upgrades and updates and tweaks. I don't really know, but it's odd.
Because there was someone a while ago that made the original Half-Life. He remade it.
Yes, they made it in
Half-Life 2.
Source 2, didn't
Yeah.
they? Yeah.
That was a good game.
Number 12. Deep Silver have announced that players can submit photos to the company in the hopes of having your face put into Homefront: The Revolution, on the grounds that you're 18 and able to travel to Nottingham in the UK. So if you are one of our UK listeners, there you go. Get your face in a game that's barely going to be made.
I played.
Well, it'll be played. It looks great,
Oh yeah.
but that game is in a weird place.
Is
Is
it?
it development?
Yeah, with Crytek, because there was the whole big furore of Crytek UK.
Yeah.
Basically, the people there weren't paid for a few months, and the studio shut down. Deep Silver have taken over, but Deep Silver aren't known for their Crytek level of game making.
No.
Yeah.
So it will be very interesting to see what happens there. But hey,
They Risen. Is that what it is? What did Deep Silver make?
Deep Silver do Saints Row.
Oh really?
Yeah, I think so. Because Deep Silver bought Volition in the THQ sale-off, and they also make Dead Island.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Number 15, EA are locking out PC users who have modified their machine more than 4 times within 24 hours. They issued a comment, and I do have it here. They said Origin authentication allows players to install a game on up to 5 different PCs every 24 hours. Players looking to benchmark more than 5 hardware configurations in one 24-hour period can contact our customer. So it's a form of DRM.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I
Basically.
like how they move smoothly from 5 different PCs to 5 hardware
Hardware
configurations.
configurations.
That was smooth. That was a sieg.
It's a form of DRM. You can't have your thing on more than 5 PCs for 24 hours.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Number 16, Halo 5 has a release date. The game will come out on October 27th this year. It was revealed in a fancy live-action trailer that took place between The Walking Dead in America.
I thought they were finally going to put it to bed.
I think this game might. If it comes out over the weekend and doesn't work,
Yeah.
you won't see Halo for a few years. Number 17, the collector's edition of Rainbow Six has been revealed.
Oh yeah.
Rainbow Six Siege. It will come with a case
Yay.
and an art book.
Oh wow.
Wow, what a
Oh,
collector's
and
edition.
some weapon skins.
Oh.
You're welcome, consumer.
Yeah.
How much?
They haven't commented on the price. I'll see
It's
if I can have a
lovely.
look at it.
Right.
Rainbow Six.
That's the worst thing. Collector's editions that are essentially nothing but a box that comes
Yeah.
with the game.
Are you,
Oh yeah, you get a steelbook case as well.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I know, right? Well, that's
do they
feels
know
it.
it's Christmas?
Do you remember the what was it? I can't remember what it was, but there was a game that came out recently, and the collector's edition came with a steelbook edition of the of the case, but not the game.
What?
So you bought the collector's edition and then bought the game to put in your steelbook case.
Wow. Okay.
I know.
Really?
Yeah, genuinely. I can't remember what the game
Ugh.
was, but it genuinely was.
How?
No, I can't find a price for it.
Well, good. At least, well,
there you go.
probably not good.
That's the fancy things you get.
So
How worth your money is that?
Indeed.
I'm looking forward to that game though.
Oh god, yeah, the game looks great, but that's a bit cheap.
I've
Yeah.
never really liked Rainbow Six.
Really?
Did you not
Or
see
rather-
the fancy E3 trailer for it? Admittedly, it's an
It's
E3
not-
trailer, but
Yeah.
It's not. I've never really been invested with them. If you see what I mean.
I think this next one looks really good. It's very swatty.
Number 18. UK head teachers in Cheshire have said that they will report children who are known to be playing 18-rated or violent games.
Ooh. This is
This will lead on nicely to the topic.
Oh, okay. Right.
What do you?
So
Oh, sorry, I just made some terrible, like, squeaky
I don't
leather
exactly
noises.
agree with age ratings generally. I think I was probably 14 when I was playing most of my 18 plus, not 18 plus, but 18 games.
Give me 1 second.
Cameron
Anyway.
just dislocated both his.
Well, that's why I said
his
give me a
upper
second
joints.
so that I can cut that out.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. So anyway, yeah. So with the 18 games, I think I was playing most of them when I was 14, and I don't think I'm that messed up. You know.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, how old did you say that they were reporting? Was it-
They haven't mentioned an age of like the children they'll report, but if it's an 18 rated or specifically violent game.
Okay. I'm not quite sure.
That's not the. In that case, that's guessing from one point on a graph.
Yeah, of course.
Um,
I don't know. Like one of my main issues, I don't agree with parents buying kids games. Right, there are these levels. I really don't.
Okay.
yeah.
But then when it's, I don't know. It's tough to say. Like I wouldn't let, if I had kids, I probably wouldn't let them until they were sort of 16 play an 18 game. I don't agree with 18 because I think 18's like by the time you're 60, you've probably seen most things anyway.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. I'm.
Why don't you agree with parents buying the game? Like,
Well,
if the parents
it depends on the age level. I think like I've seen. You go to Gamer any day, you'll see like a 9-year-old getting GTA 5 on.
Yeah. I've been playing the heists in GTA recently,
Oh, yeah?
and the amount of kids, like I got online the other day, played with 2 guys who were in high school from America. Don't know their names. 2 guys who were in high school in America, and they were like late high school, they're going to graduate. So I thought, that's fair enough. And I'm 21, so that'll sort of put that into context for anybody who doesn't know us. Like, so we're like the end of uni, so like we're legally old enough to play these. The 4th person of our heist crew was genuinely a 7-year-old, and like we like it was insane. We were shooting dudes, blowing up police cars, dropping helicopters at the sky. But one guy messed the mission up and went "fuck," and then we heard a second later, "Sorry, kid, I didn't mean to swear." And like that was too much. That was too much.
I think it's different when you've got, say, well, actually, this would argue that all games that have voice chat should be 18. I'm not sure I agree with that.
Well, yeah.
But I worry that that's because that's like the
Why is that freedom of speech?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you just hate yourself?
It's like, yeah. If you've got something that can't be censored like that, then yes.
Assume
bad,
that the worst
you know.
possible things will come up and that you need to protect kids from that.
But when it comes to, I think a lot of games, it depends really. I think there are games that are 18 that definitely should be 18, you know. And I'm thinking there's some games that are 18 that probably could get away with being like 12 or 15.
Yeah.
Really?
I don't... I'm not sure I'm happy about the idea of teachers reporting, I don't know, who are they going to report to? To the parents? To
the police.
To the police.
Yeah.
Well, one's
SWAT
just on the
teams.
legal side. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Teachers in Cheshire have announced that they're going to swat your children.
I don't know whether it's going to be. What do you call it? Whether I don't know how the law works on 18s and whether it's illegal to possess them, whether it's illegal to sell them to
Yeah, I think it's
a
just
kid.
selling.
In which case, the kid's fine to possess them, and if you have no idea, what's the point in reporting a perfectly legal thing to the police?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if in that case, you can't tell that something illegal has been done, like the kid might have bought it, in which case a store has done
Yeah.
something illegal, or maybe their parents bought it, in which case they're an idiot, but they haven't done anything illegal.
Yeah, and is it not worse to do this? I don't know.
I don't. Well, I do think. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Cameron?
I mean, the first thing that I believe, and I think should be a universal thing, is that it's ultimately the parents' choice as to what they believe their child is capable of seeing, comprehending, and considering as part of a context. God knows, I saw some things at my age, like on the TV, that I maybe shouldn't have, but like you said, I grew up a fairly normal person, I hope. And also seeing those things made me consider them from an earlier age. Like, one of my first 14-year-old birthday presents at a party was Jackass 2, the DVD.
Oh, yeah.
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 But like, that sounds absurd. But then equally, I know people who were kept away from watching The Simpsons until they were 16 by their parents. And like, they, don't necessarily have the same comprehension of things. And that's not to insult those people or say they don't. It's just an example. I think ultimately it's the parents' choice as to what their child is capable of. My parents allowed me to play GTA. I mean, Christ, one of the first games I ever played was on a PlayStation that I owned was Carmageddon. Like, one of the single most violent games on the console. But my parents knew how to bring me up in a way that, that was a game and disconnected from real
Put it
life.
into context.
Yeah, exactly. And, there was a limit on that, so I wasn't Carmageddon all night. It was Carmageddon for half an hour, and so there was homework, and it was everything in balance to an extent. And I think this is kind of a silly move, because I'm reading up on the law at the minute, and I can't see anything about consuming the content or owning the content. I can see things about selling the content.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I have necessarily no problem with a child playing GTA. The problem I have is I also know that my mum works in a school, and she has seen examples of, kids in year 5 talking about Gears of War. And
Yeah.
now there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but are these the same kids who are, acting as bullies or not doing their homework? Or it sounds incredibly boring when you say it like that, like we're talking like parents, but it's ultimately the parents' choice as to how their child is brought up. And if a part of that balanced upbringing is you get to consume a bit of violent content, a bit of sexual content, no matter what that content is, if you're showing your kid a violent movie, they could be playing a violent video game. Now, arguably, there's the difference between active and passive audience, blah, 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 blah. But as long as it's done in balance and the parents are aware of that, it should be their responsibility. I do think teachers should be allowed to highlight to somebody, hey, maybe that kid shouldn't be playing that game you let them play. But they shouldn't be reporting it to the police.
Yeah, not to the police.
It should be a note to the parents, or call them in at parents' evening and say, this is, maybe they should have less of this. It shouldn't be treated like a law. That's wrong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's not legal to do that.
No, not at all. Because
it's
your own private land, like your own private.
It's the way most contraband works in the UK is that you're just not allowed to buy or sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that goes for pretty much everything.
Or there are a fair amount of contraband that's illegal to possess.
Not in small quantities.
Shall we go on to the topic?
Yeah, I was going to, in a related, but in the same vein.
Yep.
Do you think that video game makers, that developers, have a duty to maintain a level of morality in the production of their games?
So do you want to give us an example or a sort of framework to build the topic in? Because that's a fairly broad idea.
That's a fairly wide sweep. So I don't know. Give me a morally dubious game.
Manhunt.
Manhunt.
Yeah,
there we go. There's the example.
Yeah.
Manhunt not only was incredibly violent, but it also gave you detailed descriptions of how to perform the acts of violence with household instruments.
Yes.
Plastic bags and shards of glass.
The kind of thing any regular child has just around their house.
Of course. Now, it caused quite a bit of moral furore, I'm sure you all remember. Yeah. Just because people thought that kids would be encouraged by this sort of thing to go out and perform acts of violence. That it would desensitize them to acts of violence and desensitize them to the idea that killing people is immoral if you do it for fun. It's not the only example, but it's probably the most graphic example. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts?
I'm sure there'll be another one at some point.
There is a meme that I'm part of. A what?
A meme.
A meme.
A meme.
Dank memes. There's a meme that's going around. I'm part of various online gaming groups. That is a picture of Brain Surgeon Simulator, and it is "This doesn't make me a brain surgeon." A picture of Mario. This doesn't make me a plumber. Whatever. So this doesn't make me a murderer. Inherently true. Just because you are seeing it or even doing the action in a game, it doesn't make you that thing. But it could desensitize you to brain surgery. You might feel more comfortable looking at brain surgery. No, think about it this way. You might be more comfortable looking at brain surgery on a TV program, having known that you'll see something similar or distantly similar to that in Brain Surgeon Simulator. It's not necessarily the case, but it could be there. And if we agree that games can have a good effect, which we all do, if we agree that The Walking Dead can make you cry in a happy way, well, not in a happy way, but in a good kind of connected way, if we agree that something like Ori and the Blind Forest can have a good effect on you, we also have to appreciate that there is a reverse to that, that if it can have a good, it can do the same thing negatively. The problem is that I don't think it's necessarily the problem. I don't think it's up to the developers to limit what they put in their game because your child might play it, or whoever might play it. Now, I think there's limitations to this. I think you have to be responsible and aware of the social context that you exist inside. And so if you're designing a character or a story or a even a mechanic that's outdated or regressive, you have to be willing to, if you put that in your game, take the what's the word? Like journalism, but not. It's you have criticism. You have to be willing to take the criticism that comes with it, and you have to be willing to appreciate that somebody may be insulted by that and may call you out, and not in a kind of internet-y call you out, that insults me kind of way, but in a I find that difficult and upsetting kind of way.
Yeah.
So my constant, I believe in this situation for what you're saying is, I believe in no game should be held back with the content they put in, as long as there are third-party systems in place, like a ratings board or the PEGI system or parental controls, so that you do have a limit over what you're consuming and what you consider to be suitable for yourself. There are certain there are games that I won't play because I appreciate that that they are part of this genre or part of this. I hate horror games. I hate horror games. And But I would never say don't ever make horror games. That's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is a system in place where I can see, oh, that game called Outlast, that's a horror game. I'll avoid that. And in the same way, there are systems in place for which parents can say that game's a 15. Maybe I shouldn't look at it yet. And I don't think it should just be as binary as, oh, that's got a red box on it. Never going to play that. Like, if you should probably know more about what your kids are consuming. But if you are as bad a parent as to not give a damn, at least there's a red box somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
How about you?
Oof. After that massive speech, I don't know what to
Sorry.
Where do I see myself in this? I kind of see myself very similar to your position, but I'm kind of like, I like the idea of it being free to even push those boundaries. I think you still have to be able to justify it most of the time, because I'm okay with like justifying it story wise. Like, I think Manhunt justifies its actions in a way that says you're not this character, but if you were to play this character, this is the actions that character would make, sort of thing. So it's not like you being this murderer; it's you acting. I guess it's different. It's a step removed from that. So I don't think that you get this.
But how do you differentiate between the people that get that and the people that don't?
That is a point, and it is a fair point. But again, that comes under the radar of sort of. I think by the time you're my age, right? By the time you're Cameron's age, by the time you're 21, I think mostly your views are
He's
set.
that age as well, by the way, just to...
No.
Yes,
keep you up to date.
Am I the youngest here?
About
Listen,
you
Yeah,
are.
you're 20.
Yeah, I am.
Oh,
Yeah.
bugs.
Yeah. Just finding this out now. Okay. Anyway.
You can't drink in America.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, that's crazy, but that's a different point.
Also can't play some video games. But anyway.
Sure. I don't know if that's true.
I do remember
no.
seeing a film that was rated 21, but that was about 10,
Where?
10, 15 years ago. It was over here.
No.
Yeah.
There's never been
It was
I lost track of what the question someone asked me was.
Baby. I don't know.
Come on.
No, not
It was
Million Dollar
about a baby.
No, It was called Million Dollar. It was about a bank robbery with lots of guns.
Come on, guys.
Anyway,
Go.
back to what we
What
were
did you
talking
ask me?
about.
I don't know anymore.
What's your opinion on, do games have to be moral guardians? Do they have to...
Oh, yeah, but I was asked something. What was I
We
asked?
got to.
Oh, how do you differentiate
between
the
the
people
two?
who get that you're
Your
just...
views are
Oh, yeah,
basically...
so my views are generally when you're the age of 21 or at least 18, most of your views are going to be set in stone. At least you're not going to randomly play a video game and decide that you want to be a murderer. I think when you're an impressionable age, then yes, you definitely shouldn't be playing those games. And then that's why the rating system's in place. I wonder about your thing, Cameron, with your... It sounded like you're both with the rating system and against the rating system.
In what sense?
Oh.
Bear with me 1 second. Hey, it worked! That's really cool. What were you about to say?
Okay, so...
Sorry, we took a second break. We're going to resume. What were you
Okay.
saying, Lewis?
So I was saying whether you had conflicting views, because you kind of were for the rating system and against the rating system in a way, as it seemed that you were pro sort of there being a thing that says, like, kids can't play these games, but then against, like, kids not being allowed to play those games.
How do you mean? Like...
I guess it's...
So, like, was that the situation where, like, a parent goes, "Oh, that's an 18, I shouldn't
Yeah.
ever..." So, like, I don't think a binary system of this game is just 18, this game is just 15 is perfect. It's like review scores. Like, I don't think a system of this game fits into this, that, or the other is perfect. Because, like, Borderlands, for example, Borderlands 2 is an 18, and so is GTA 5, but the content is inherently different. Yeah, I think so. The pre-sequel certainly is. But the content is inherently different. Like, Borderlands is all tongue-in-cheek, it's silly, it's funny. The guns and the violence aren't grounded in reality,
Cartoonish.
Yeah,
yeah,
not very
it's
graphic.
cartoonish. There's a disjoint there. Whereas GTA is inherently violent, sexual, misogynist and gritty, but in a good and necessary way. Not good misogyny, but like in a grounded and necessary way.
In a manner that puts it in context of being a horrible place.
Yes, exactly. And thank you for saving me. And so it's weird that those two games, if you were just going by that system, you'd think they are the same game and I must not let my child play them.
Okay.
But in the same way, if you think that your child is, if your child has played 7-15 games and you think that's a good ballpark for them, then it's a fine system. It's not perfect, and I would kind of prefer a sort of. Do you remember on videos where you used to turn to the back of the video and there'd be like violence mild, sexual infrequent, and that again isn't perfect, but it's still a better idea. But the fact that there's a system at all is a safeguard, and it's something.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of on the fence with it.
Okay. You fleshed that out quite well. So
Thank you.
my other thing, right?
Okay.
What about games that have immoral concepts but are set in a world where those are justified? Well, not justified, but like you get this kind of like thing where you say, is it okay for a game to have, say, sexist elements in it, but it's set in like the 20s or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
That kind of
we
sort of...
talked about this with the whaling thing in Dishonored,
Yes.
didn't we?
Yes, I remember we did.
Yeah.
No, I remember. What was our
What you said
what did we
was,
flesh out there?
I think what you said at the time was, it's okay. We were talking quite specifically about history.
Yes.
And I think we talked about Assassin's Creed as well.
Yep.
And like, what bits do you maintain and what bits do you not, for the fear of...
Again, it's about putting it in the right context.
I think what you said at the time was, it's perfectly okay to include all of that stuff, as long as you make it clear at some point that this is. I mean, the Assassin's Creed is a great example. This is a work of fiction made by people of multiple faiths. It does not have any grounding in the world in which you live.
Yeah.
And that message seems silly at the beginning of an Assassin's Creed thing, but actually, like, it's... Well, it not just protects them, but it's actually pretty important, because when you think about it, like, some of the stuff they're showing is pretty outdated and pretty, nasty compared to real world, and it is nice to be able, like, even if it's just a protection, there is a reference of, hey, this is not the world you live in, like, don't use this as a framework, but enjoy it nonetheless.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So go on.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut in, but I will. I think something like GTA is justified because Michael, Trevor, and Franklin are inherently dicks. Like, they are dicks to each other, to everybody else, to women, to men, to children, to whoever, to everyone, dicks. But they're not supposed to be good guys. You're not supposed to play them and be good guys. It's like the Wolf of Wall Street. Jordan Belfort in the Wolf of Wall Street is a dick.
Yeah.
But you're supposed, and you like him as part of the story goes, but you're not supposed to leave the cinema and think, man, that guy is a good hero.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You're supposed to like him in regard to the story, but know that you like a dick.
Yeah, but it's... See, you're saying that from the perspective of a 21-year-old. You have to be pretty unambiguous to get that same message to someone who's maybe 15.
But then arguably a 20... Well, yeah, but that's why GTA is arguably rated for an 18. You know, that is the kind of... And I know that obviously you could have a misogynist or an arsehole dick in a 12-year-old game and it would just be less violent. But you do have to put a certain amount of trust there in the censors to know that what is suitable and what is not. And that's a dangerous thing, but it's good that there is a safeguard there.
I think I do think that developers have a certain duty to... I'll preface this all. I do not think that there should be, beyond the current system of rating, I don't think that there should be a legal mechanism for censoring people, right? Mm-hmm. Having said that, I'm pretty sure there's very good grounds for a voluntary one.
Okay.
Well, that's interesting.
I think that games would serve themselves a hell of a lot better, and to a degree, and this is the idea of doing a community service, serve a community better, if they do take a certain role in developing people's morals.
Now, this is interesting because games have to submit to certification.
They do. This is why I prefaced it with beyond what exists.
I'm just thinking, they have to submit to certification for platforms. Something like Steam Greenlight.
Yeah, I don't think they do.
Do you have... That's really interesting.
Yeah. That's why the indie can...
I think there are rules... it's about being able to be sold.
I'm not so sure.
Yeah,
in
they
a shop.
yes, because
in
Peggy
hard.
became
Oh yeah, that's true.
the Peggy system became law in 2012, didn't it? So you have to have a Peggy rating to be sold, I think. But I don't know that would affect.
To be sold in hard copy or to be
Yeah,
sold in
that's
See,
soft
I was
copy?
going to say, does that affect retail? God, that's really
I
interesting.
can't think it will.
Maybe we should come back to this.
Unless, I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah,
Maybe we should.
I feel like I'm a bit educated about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that's a pretty good.
I do think that there is certain grounds for that. I would say that probably the most, I mean, the important thing about having a moral message, I would say, is to not, and it sounds really, really old fogey like, to not corrupt the child. And the way I would say you do that is by creating in their mind some construct, some survivable lack of ethics.
See, when we first started talking, I kind of thought you just meant not being too bad, but now it sounds like you literally mean you want moral messages put in.
Well,
Is that what you're saying? You
Moral
literally
messages are normal for a game, right? The hero's journey is a moral message.
Yeah, okay.
And playing as a moral character is satisfying.
So you are saying that your character should not be
No,
moral.
I don't know that I agree there.
It's
Playing
not
as an
universally so. Also, choosing deliberately to play the immoral is also satisfying in its own
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But but it's often.
But are you saying that
it's
you don't want
often
that there?
enjoyable because the fact that the morality structure does exist. Playing as the bad guy is fun, but if you're not actually playing as the bad guy, just another person.
It depends how you define morality. You could say that the Arkham games you're playing as an inherently immoral character, because let's face it, Batman is an immoral character, but there's a morality structure that allows you to. But does that make him a moral character, or does it just make it a moral story? And what about something like?
Well, that's a good question because I would say that he's moral, but moral in the whole. Is it Count of Monte Cristo? Yes. The avenging angel.
Oh right,
moral.
yeah. Okay, yes, I suppose so. But then what about something like GTA, where there's a moral structure set up there, where Franklin, Michael, and Trevor are.
But you're playing as the bad guy.
Yeah, but you're
Exactly.
but you're beating other bad guys. You're beating the government and
Yeah.
the banks and the this, that, the
That's
other.
how
So
it
does
usually
that
is.
make them moral? And if so, then how do we define this argument? Because by definition, that makes what they're doing a moral message.
Yeah, because I mean, there aren't many. I can't think of many games where. I mean, Manhunt's an example of one of the ones it is, but in most games where you do play the bad guy, you're still against worse guys.
I mean, Red Dead Redemption, even where you have that choice of be an arsehole, there's still bigger arseholes because you need a bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, you still... Don't laugh at that, that's so childish.
Imagine, say, a game where you're playing as Sauron.
Okay, yes.
For context, right?
Yeah.
Not only would you have the physical advantage, you would be playing against people of higher moral characters.
Yeah.
Who actually, by the context of a normal human being, hasn't done anything to provoke you, right?
Yes.
All the characters in GTA, they might be unpleasant characters, but they're definitely fighting to survive and fighting to protect themselves and fighting against badder guys than
but
them.
so is Sauron.
Huh?
If you play as no,
Really?
I don't know about
if
that.
you play as Sauron, the game will justify your actions against the actions of man or the wizards or the this, that, the other, because they are inherently your bad guys.
Well, no,
They are inherently your antagonists.
Yes, but that's going by the moral mechanism of Sauron, which isn't.
But that's
We're
how
talking
you...
about the overarching moral mechanism. The one
By
of
the
both.
overarching moral mechanism, the moral characters in GTA 5 are arseholes, but they're moral by their own standpoint, and you can only define it by the game's own standpoint. Because,
I don't know,
for example, the moral mechanism of GTA 5 doesn't apply to Rayman.
Yeah.
Because
Can
Rayman doesn't go
you-
around with a rocket launcher shooting teensies left, right, and centre. But
Let's take.
But he does kill all the other people.
all the bad guys, yeah.
Let's take, for
With
instance,
massive punches.
no Russian. Can you
Okay.
in
No
any
Russian.
way
Okay.
put that around so that you are playing as the good guy?
By our own moral structure, by the one that we live by, no.
And this is not being
depends.
disingenuous. This is being
Are you-
something that everyone can agree on, rather
okay.
than by
Okay,
careful
but we're
logical
playing devil's
constructions.
advocate, so I will do.
But
By the
but
morals,
no,
but
if
because
we're talking
bear
anyway.
with me. Sorry, we totally cut you off. Sorry. By the moral structure of our lives and the world in which we live, no. By the moral structure of the character who is doing things to beat an antagonist who is invariably written as bad, yes. I can't think of a single game where you are... Saints Row might be the best example.
Of what?
Of a game where you're allowed to be bad just to be bad.
About Overlord?
Where you're bad, but
Overlord.
Overlord works.
Nice!
No.
If you like Overlord,
Yeah.
listen to our episode with Mark Silk. He's the voice of Johnny Bravo. He's fucking cool.
I really enjoyed that.
He was really cool. He was so cool, like, in the room as well. He was really, really cool to talk to. Sorry.
I would say that there has to be... That even it's good and worthwhile having a moral message, a moral structure, and that not having a moral structure can be incredibly can be unsettling more than
No,
anything,
absolutely.
and corrupting it at its extreme.
I think, as per most of our discussions, it depends. We should get that on a t-shirt.
Well, it depends.
Yeah, it depends. I think, though, that's a pretty good topic. It's a pretty good one. Shall we move on to the indie game?
Probably, yes.
Marvellous. Our indie game of the week, our indie game of the show of the week is hashtag IDARB. And you do have to have the hashtag in front of it, unfortunately. IDARB is weird. It's weird to explain. It's like 2D, side-scrolling, basketball with goals. Right? You played this, you agree?
Yeah.
So far?
I would agree that would
With a minimal combat system and customizable characters. But the thing that makes IDARB interesting is it's built from the ground up to be an esport, whether you like it or not, or whether that's a good thing or not. And so what IDARB does is Twitch streaming and Twitter streaming are built into it. So you can use Twitch chat and tweets to send hashtags into the game that change the way the game plays. And that sounds very odd. But from the perspective of somebody watching a match rather than playing it, I mean, the gameplay's fine, it's solid, it's funny. We've played it a bit here. Maybe we should stream it and put it on YouTube or something with you guys playing together. That'd be really fun. From the perspective of somebody playing it, it's good fun. From the perspective of somebody watching it, it's really good fun. Because I could fuck with you all the time. And that's so fun. So what do you think of it?
Well, it's fun in its way. It's a sport.
The grump.
I don't play sports. No.
Really
Yay, sports ball.
Sports ball. Actually, it's quite an interesting idea. Going for a digital, the idea of a digital sport. What? Why are you looking at me like that, Lewis?
Can't say I was.
It's incredibly stimulating, certainly, and it makes me twitch, which is usually the sign of a good game.
In anger.
In wrath.
What did you think? You played 2 matches, didn't you?
I went against
Both of us.
2. Yeah. Lost the first one. It was sad times, but no, I really enjoyed it. I want to know, what can you change? Do you know what you can change?
you can like invert the controls, you can change the background, you can make a jump scare on the screen, you can destroy all the it's odd. You can destroy all the platforms, you can have the ball change, you can have multiple balls, you can have like, it really does. A lot of the gameplay is really fluid. It's a clever idea.
I was interested into seeing what we could do.
Contact basketball in 2 dimensions,
There you go.
but with one.
Yeah.
But instead of the y-axis, they have a z-axis.
Yes. That's really good.
With solid heckling.
Yeah, with interactive heckling.
Yes.
There you go. That's IDARB,
Yeah.
and it's made by Other Ocean. It's made, developed, and produced by them. It was a game with gold, although by the time this goes out, it won't be. So you'll have to pay for it, but it's totally worth paying for. And if you don't want to pay for it and just want to be involved with it, you can tweet what your thoughts on IDARB are, and it will come in at the bottom of the screen for the people who did get it. So you go. That is IDARB, and that was the indie game of the week, and that was our latest episode of the show. Marvellous. Thank you very much for joining me, gents.
That's quite all right. Any day.
Cool.
Always good to be here.
Marvellous. And until next time or next week, or depending on however many more of these we pre-record, the next one. Thanks very much. And the game's up.